Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to test not one but two earbuds from Lypertek, as I've got their top of the line hybrid triple driver Pureplay Z7 and the more affordable Z3 as well. Despite the huge gap in price, the two buds are similar in many respects, but there are some major differences too that are worth a discussion. So let's see what these two earbuds are like. Before we get into all the details, however, let me tell you that I've got both buds from the manufacturer for this review, but I'm not getting paid and nobody was given any preview privileges, nor there was anybody telling me what to say about their product. So another completely honest review is what you are getting. Now, onto the earbuds. The Pureplay Z3 is the cheaper of the two with a price tag of around $99, while the Z7 costs $199. At first look, there is not much to differentiate the two, as they look almost identical from certain angles. The build quality is the same, and so is the plastic they used on both buds. Only if you turn them sideways you can see how much bigger the Z7 is, which makes sense as the special coaxial driver setup simply requires more space, but more about that in a minute. The Z3 weighs in at around 5.2 grams each, and the Z7 comes in at around 6.5 grams, so there is a substantial difference in their weight too. And that translates to a better, more secure fit with the Z3 in my ears, and while the Z7 is secure enough as well, I found it a touch too big for my ears, to be honest. And if we consider the fact that the Z3 are IPX7 rated but the Z7 are IPX5 only, then we can say that the smaller, cheaper Z3 buds are much better suited for exercise. Not that there is anything wrong with the Z7, as the IPX5 rating still gives you more than enough protection against rain and sweat, but I felt more confident with the Z3 during running thanks to their more secure fit. The Z7 are also not the most comfortable earbuds I've ever put in my ears. That little bump or hinge where the charging pins are is pressing against the outer edge of my ear canals, and that can cause a little discomfort after a half an hour or so. The Z3 buds have no bump, and since they are also smaller and lighter, they could give me a more comfortable fit even after wearing them for longer periods of time. But again, that's just my ears and my personal experience. People with larger ears might prefer the Z7, and it also comes with plenty of ear tips giving you more flexibility in terms of which one works best for you. There are 3 sets of your regular silicone ear tips in the box, but you also get 3 sets of FlexiFit foam tips for an even more secure fit and better passive noise isolation. And on top of all this, we get 6 dust covers that go in front of your speakers. You don't get such an extensive selection of ear tips with the Z3, as you can only find 3 sets of silicone tips and 1 set of medium-sized foam tips in the box. This is still more than what most manufacturers pack with their buds though. The two battery cases look very similar, and they both use this textured fabric cover, which reminds me of the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2, and that's quite a compliment, as that case is one of my all-time personal favorites as far as case designs go. So both cases look sleek. Their build quality is very similar except for the lid, which feels more solid on the Z7 at first, but that feeling quickly evaporates as soon as you open them both, as neither of the two lids has a hard stop when fully open, and they are a bit too loose for my taste. But what both cases got right is their features. We get Qi wireless charging support and also a massive total playtime with both. It's 70 hours with the Z3 and 80 hours with the Z7 to be exact. Both buds can last up to 10 hours with one charge, but that's tested with the SBC audio codec at 50% volume, so using aptX at higher volume will probably result in a slightly shorter battery life, but a 6 to 7 hours single charge playtime and 50 hours of total battery life still do not sound bad at all. And you also get a fast charge feature with both earbuds, which can give you 2 hours of playtime after only 15 minutes of charging. And to carry on with the similarities, there is a Qualcomm 3040 chip inside both earbuds with Bluetooth version 5.2, single bud mode and easy pairing. Connection is rock solid in both cases, I had no issues or any signal dropouts whatsoever. Both buds are compatible with the SBC and the AAC audio codecs, and the only difference here is the aptX adaptive support on the Z7 compared to the regular aptX support on the Z3. And the more advanced codec on the more expensive earbuds deliver a much better performance with games in particular, as latency is much lower than what you get with the Z3. So the cheaper buds might not be the best for gamers, but you get the exact same movie watching experience on both earbuds, which means no noticeable lag. Neither of the two support multi-point use.
And here is a quick comparison to assess the phone call quality of each earbud. You can hear the Pureplay Z3 now in a quiet room, and now I'm switching over to the Z7 to hear if there is any difference between the two models as far as handling my voice goes. If we switch back to the Z3 and turn on some background chatter, we can hear how the CVC 8.0 technology deals with all the external noises, and if we switch buds again, we can also hear if the engineers made any improvements in the phone call quality on the more expensive Z7.
Moving on to the controls, you can find physical buttons on both earbuds. I got a more tactile feedback and a bit better accuracy on the Z7, while the Z3 buttons feel a bit stiff to me. They both do the job just fine, but I like using the Z7 much more. You can control play, pause, tracks, volume, phone calls, and you can turn the Hearthrough Mode on and off. And that's the same on both earbuds. And so are the features and custom settings that are available in the Pure Control app. First, you can remap the functionality of the buttons, but only the double and the triple press actions can actually be personalized, as the single tap is always play pause and the press and hold is fixed to switching Hearthrough Mode on and off. You get EQ presets and custom EQ settings, or you can opt for using the LDX mode, which stands for Lypertek Definition Expander. It's a DSP mode which disables the EQ feature, and according to the manufacturer, it improves the sound stage, the definition, and adds an extra sense of space to your music. I will put it to the test in the sound quality section in a minute. There are some other features in the app, such as the Hearthrough Mode switch and the Find My Earbuds, which can help you locate your buds if you misplace them. Last, there is the settings menu, but it only has the firmware update option inside. And talking about updates, I had no issues with doing that on the Z7 as everything went smoothly without a hiccup, but the update process kept failing on the Z3 for whatever reason, but after like 4 or 5 tries, I managed to update that as well. Now, moving on with the list of similarities between the Z3 and the Z7, let's see the autoplay pause and the ANC features, or rather the lack of both. We have no in-ear sensors, which means we get no autoplay pause, and we don't have active noise cancellation on either of the buds. And that's acceptable on a pair of earbuds which cost $90, but for $200 one would expect to get at least one of those basic features these days. So there is no ANC at all, but what we get is a mediocre Hearthrough Mode on both buds. It's not intense or loud enough, and with music on it barely even makes a difference if I'm honest, and it doesn't matter which buds we talk about, as it's basically the same on both. Turning it on makes everything sound a bit weird, as it's like all sounds have a metallic ringing or something, so it doesn't sound natural at all, but rather digital is the best way to put it. And after so many similarities between the Z3 and the Z7, we finally get to talk about the biggest difference there is, and that's their driver setup and consequently their audio performance. The lower-end Z3 comes with a single 6mm graphene driver, so nothing out of the ordinary there. But with the big boys you get not one, not two, but 3 drivers in each bud. And that's something I have not seen on any other earbuds before. This hybrid triple driver setup uses a coaxial structure, so the engineers could fit in the 2 balanced armature drivers and the 6mm dynamic driver into the housing of the buds. The acoustic tuning required some extra space too, and while we only pay a small price for this unique driver setup as far as the size of the Z7 goes, we can greatly benefit from the huge leap in sound quality. The first thing I noticed when started A/B testing the two buds is how spacious, airy and effortless the Z7 sounds compared to the Z3. The Z3 delivers a decent sound with a slightly warm sound signature. The bass is powerful enough without too much boominess or muddiness. It kicks hard when it has to, but it's happy to step back when the music requires it to do so. Switching to the Z7 reveals an even leaner bass, which is probably not basshead approved, but it feels more in balance with the rest of the frequency range. But the more bass on the Z3 could easily be due to the tighter fit I got with those buds in my ears. The lower octaves can still punch on the Z7, but there is a lack of extension and warmth compared to the Z3. But we get an upgrade in mid-range clarity with the Z7 in return. The whole music opens up, the vocals step forward a bit, and we get more life and detail in the sound. Separation and definition of the individual elements of the music improves big time, and it feels like the sound stage gets stretched out in all directions. The Z3 can sound a bit more confined in comparison. It's good enough on its own right and in its own category, but the two earbuds play in different leagues here. Imaging is precise on both buds, but with the Z7 we get a much more three-dimensional sound with truly pinpoint imaging. The Z3 has enough detail and energy in the higher octaves, but it can get a bit too hot and sibilant at times. The Z7, however, has a much more delicate treble with loads of fine details, and we also get the sparkle we would expect, but without any of the sharp edges. Everything sounds smooth. Interestingly enough, I found that the Z3 can go much louder than its more expensive sibling, but again, similarly to their bass response, it can be due to the better fit I got with the smaller buds. With LDX turned on, there is a subtle but noticeable improvement in spaciousness and maybe even in the perception of fine details and definition with both earbuds, without any negative effect on the sound, so I simply left it on all the time. The only downside of having LDX turned on is that you lose the option to use the EQ feature in the app, but at the end of the day I found it a worthy trade-off. So in terms of sound quality, each earbud can easily compete with the best in its respective price range, but if I had to give you a short description of each, then I would say that you get more bass power and sheer volume with the Z3, while you can expect a much more sophisticated and balanced performance from the Z7. And since other than what we just discussed, there is not much difference to report between these two Lypertek earbuds, I would say that depending on what you are after, you have two great alternatives. The Pureplay Z3 is a strong contender in the under $100 price bracket with its good build quality, wireless charging, long battery life and aptX support. The combination of the tight fit, the IPX7 rating, the Hearthrough Mode and the powerful sound make it an easy recommendation for even physically active people. And when I say that it's great for exercise, then those who have been following my channel for a while should know that it means something coming from a person who takes sport earbuds in general very seriously. And another topic I take very seriously is sound quality, and that's where the Z7 comes in. It might not have all the bells and whistles that other earbuds have to offer for the same money, but their sonic performance alone can make it a better choice than most of its rivals. Its sound is at least as good or even better than most Beats, AirPods, Samsungs or Soundcores I've heard, and it's also easily comparable to the best ones such as the Sony WF-1000X Mark IV or other higher-end models from Sennheiser or Bose. That is, if you like a truly well-balanced and open sound without any excessive energy at either end of the frequency spectrum. Is it worth the substantial jump in price compared to the Z3 though? Well, as always, it's down to your personal preferences. I personally would consider picking the Z3, but only because of their better fit in my not too large ears. But if sound quality is of the utmost importance to you, and also if you have larger ears maybe, then I wouldn't hesitate to buy the Z7 instead. And this was my dual review of the Lypertek Pureplay Z3 and Z7 earbuds. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribing to the channel would mean a lot to me too. Your comments are welcome as always. Thanks for watching. See you next time.